Chapter 13. The scraps of wrappers all over Madison's bed probably gave her away. Danica came in, threw her purse on her own bed, then gave her a "don't you dare leave anything out" stare. She cocked her hip and crossed her arms over her chest. "Spill it," she commanded. If she told Danica, she'd end up in a puddle again. A preemptive tissue was in order. She reached for the box and it was empty. The injustice was the last straw, and she threw the box against the wall with a sob. "Okay, I get it." Danica sat on the edge of the bed. "It's Randall. What did he do or not do?" Madison took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to keep the tears at bay. She'd never cried so much over one man. One stupid, gorgeous, sweet, honorable man. "He said we can only be friends because I'm not a believer." Danica cocked her head to the side. "Didn't you say you come from a family of believers? Seems to me you wanted to blame their chilly behavior on their beliefs, but if you turn him away because of his, it's you who are being chilly, not him." "I'm not wrong to be angry. He shouldn't expect me to change to be with him. He should want me for me." Even though he'd said they could go no further without a shared faith, it didn't matter because faith wasn't something she could blindly accept. It would always stand between them. "Anyway, I could be wrong about my parents. It's possible that my father was just respecting my mother. She gets really uncomfortable with showing affection. It doesn't matter because we aren't talking about my parents, we're talking about Randall." She reached for one of the tissues on the bed and dabbed her nose. Danica laughed. "So you admit you might be wrong about Christians? What is it that really bothers you? You come from a history of faith, so something changed your mind." It was a series of things, really. Things she'd never discussed with her family because they loved the church, had no trouble with anything, and she never wanted to seem like the troublemaker, the dissenter. "Every Christian I meet is judgmental and stilted, cold. They don't really care." She shrugged. "There are other reasons, but I don't want to be fake, to have to pretend I don't like someone just because they don't lead the same life as me." "And have I done that to you?" Danica could have been smug about that, but she wasn't. She posed it as a legitimate question, one that deserved an answer. "No, you didn't judge me for my books or anything else, but you aren't a typical Christian." "How do you know that? You block yourself from each and every one of us, labeling us as the enemy the moment you find out. Frankly, I'm surprised Randall got as close to you as he did." While it was true, it hurt. She didn't just single out Christians, she didn't let anyone get close. "That's not true. You're acting like I'm some kind of bigot or something." "No, I'm saying that something happened that determined how you feel about Christians. That event is keeping you from a relationship with your parents, and from Randall, and frankly, from God. It's only a matter of time before it turns you against me. Do you even realize the Lord has put all these people in your path to heal you of these ideas? Did Randall ever treat you cold? How many people are you going to push out of your life before you realize that the problem is not with the Christians who love you, but with the ones from the past that hurt you? Stop hiding from people. Stop pushing us all out of the way. You're being some kind of self-righteous, anti-Christian zealot." Madison gasped. "That's not fair. You don't really feel that way." "You've been looking for me to condemn you since you found out about my faith. I'm not going to do that because it isn't my job. You want to be mad at Randall for telling you his heart, but instead of taking a good long look at yourself and what might be holding you back from sharing something amazing and important with him, you're sitting here crying over what could have been. Just stop." "So you think I should just give up and conform? Believe something I don't?" "No. But if you can't come up with a better reason than 'I think Christians are cold,' then you haven't thought about it and you don't deserve Randall. A decision like that is a big one of the biggest you'll ever make, and you have a better excuse for not eating the hamburgers at lunch than you do for giving up on Randall." Her pride reared up inside her. "You're trying to make me sound silly. I never asked for your help." Danica stood and collected her laptop. "No, you didn't. But 5 years from now, when you're scared and alone, sitting in that big New York apartment, still afraid of the guy that lives 2 doors down, don't complain. Because right now, between you and Randall, you're the one being cold. Danica turned on her heel and left. Only one person would understand and know what to do, though it would be the hardest call she could even think of making. Madison pressed a few numbers and her phone rang twice. She clenched her fingers into a fist to keep them from killing the call. The other end picked up and a surprised, "Hello?" called through the earpiece. "Hi, Mom? Yeah, do you have a few minutes?" It didn't make any sense to go to Shady without Madison, but Randall didn't really want to be around the ranch either. At least until Luke had a chance to relax a bit. He'd been adamant about relationships with the guests. It was to prevent lawsuits in case one of the men would find themselves with a married woman. But Madison wasn't married. Here again, he was asking them to bend the rules for Madison. They wouldn't do it, hadn't done it the first time, and wouldn't do it this time. Course, it really didn't matter now. He strode away from the cabins and toward the bunkhouse when Luke appeared on the front step. "Randall, why don't you come in here and sit for a minute?" That wasn't a question. Even though it was his day off, he couldn't tell the boss no. "Yes, sir." He dipped his head and changed course for the ranch house. Luke held the door open for him and led him into the front sitting room, a place where the guests rarely went. Most stayed in the dining area. He stood in front of the row of letters, all from past owners. "I've had a lot on my mind this week. Relationships, my own ranch on the other side of town, life, love. You asked me to allow a woman to sit with you in the stable. Then Mrs. Alice said a woman came in asking for an ice pack for a hurt boy, but Braden went around and asked. There was only one person hurt that day, and it wasn't a guest. I took a late evening walk with Kat a few nights ago and saw two people cuddling out by my fence, but they looked a little young to be one of our married couples." He turned to glance at him with his hard, dark eyes. "And when I wanted to go over and break you two up, Kat asked me not to." Randall realized he'd been holding his breath, hoping not to give anything away, but now he had to respond. Why would she do that? "I don't understand. You said we were to stay away from guests." "Yes, I did. But Kat said she could see in the way you stood and paid attention to each other there was more there than just the physical. There was more there than what anyone would immediately see. I don't know what's going on with you both. As long as you don't flaunt it like you did in the parking lot, I won't stop you. In fact, I hope she's the girl of your dreams. You've worked for me for over a month now, and I know your plans. I hope she will follow you." "It would seem that won't be an issue. She didn't like the direction we were going and decided not to join me today. Since she's leaving in a little over a day, I'd say there isn't much hope." Luke shook his head. "I'm sorry to hear that. I was so sure I could trust what Kat saw." He wasn't about to argue. It made no sense to. "Do you have any work you need me to do? No sense in taking a full day off if I've got nothing to do." "No, go rest if nothing else. Take a ride for fun. Everyone needs a day of rest, and that includes you. Take it." "Yes, sir." He wasn't sure what he'd do with the day now, but standing there talking to Luke wasn't it. "Maybe I'll go think by the river. Thank you." He tipped his hat because he was grateful. If Luke had stopped them that very first night by the fence, they probably wouldn't have gotten any closer. Though he felt empty, he still wouldn't trade the last week for anything.